Hey guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. So I finally got my hands on the Atari Edition of the Super Pocket, the standard version that is the lovely black and red. I still think this is really cool, although it is a little bit different to the wood grain version that is the limited edition. Obviously I have covered that in quite a lot of detail, so this video probably won't be quite as detailed. If you want a more detailed video, I'll leave a link in the description for the wood grain version. But anyway, without further ado, let's get this bad boy open and we'll have a look at it. And we'll probably try some of the Atari carts with it as well, because I heard there's a little bit of a problem with the Lynx carts specifically. Anyway, let's get started. Okay guys, so this is the black and red standard Atari Super Pocket that you'll probably find probably in a lot of game stores, online, Fun Stock, Amazon, that type of thing, or wherever you get your products from. Now it comes complete with 50 games, Atari classics built in, and it's really nice. There's lots of screenshots up the side. This is sort of Super Pocket number 3. There's some nice artwork up the side. It does look very catching. On the back there's a little bit of details about what games are included. You've got arcade titles, 2600 titles, 5200 titles, 7800 and even Lynx games included on your Super Pockets. You've also got the option to play in easy mode, obviously for younger players, or just like me, you're maybe not very good, so I would probably choose that. Now that's only for your arcade games that are up the top here. That's the only time that's in effect. You've got a 2.8 inch high quality IPS screen. You've got 4 hours gameplay, or probably even more battery life, which is pretty decent. USB-C charging, rechargeable battery, Evercade cart compatible. That's probably one of the big takeaways for this. You can expand your library by playing Evercade carts. Now over maybe 50 to 60 carts, over 500 games, so you can add lots of different games to this device other than the 50 pre-installed games. Now make sure you open the box at the bottom, as it's a lot more easier just to slide the Super Pocket out. Open that at the top probably isn't the best way of doing it. Okay, so here we have it, the black and red Atari Super Pocket. I think this is really cool. Might even be one of my most favourite colour schemes that they've sort of released. That I really like. I think it's very striking. It's hard to say if this is a proper red. It almost looks a little bit off red, almost even slightly sort of verging onto orange maybe. Maybe that's just my sight, I have no idea. But still, this is a really nice looking machine. I have to say the D-pad sometimes is not great on these units. Now you get away with it for a lot of games, but some games you can click down on it and it does stick certain sort of games. Sometimes it just centralises the character and it makes the game a little bit trickier to play. You've got your face buttons, they feel nice, but they are probably a little bit small and quite close together. You've got your start and select button, and you've got your menu button here. It's got a nice screen, certainly great viewing angles on it as well, no problem with that. You've got your front facing speaker. On the side you've just got a couple of vents on both sides, nothing particularly special. On the bottom you've got your headphone jack, you've got a slider on off switch, you've got your charging USB-C at the bottom. On the back it's basically just a sort of cooling vent, I believe. You've got your volume up and down button, and you've got this dummy cart, which is where you would put your Evercade cartridges if you were interested in expanding your library. This is basically just a bit of plastic. It's just basically to cover that hole, to give it a more sort of finished feel to it. You've got your sort of shoulder buttons as well, 4 of them, and they are not really the greatest. If you're going to play some games, it's a little bit of a stretch to reach around to play some types of games on that. They're okay for minimal use, but if it's extensive use, probably not the best. Okay guys, so here is the comparison between the two. They are exactly the same, apart from obviously this one is the wood grain. This was the limited edition, limited to 2,650 copies I believe, and yeah, it does look very similar. This colour scheme's obviously very different. I'm not sure why they went with the black with the wood grain. It would have been interesting just to leave that as red. Maybe that would have had a colour clash and it wouldn't have worked quite as well. But anyway, that's the two in comparison. You let me know, what one do you prefer? I'm pretty sure I probably won't play this one very often, and I'll stick to gameplay on this one instead. Keep this one safe in a box somewhere. There's no doubt sound on this unit is fantastic. You obviously can just press the button on the side up and down depending on how loud you want it. It does go very loud. and can go extremely quiet, completely quiet, or just, I think that the first setting is even still a little bit too loud, but anyway, we'll keep it at that for the purpose of the video. Now, obviously, before we get started, you can press the menu button and access the Evercade options. This is where you would put your Evercade carts in and play your games that way. And there's some options in the settings to change screen ratios, sound, language, and as we mentioned earlier, the difficulty mode. You've got easy and normal to choose from, and that really is it. Nothing too special at all. That's it. Nothing special. You don't get any options to change controls. It's very minimal, and that's basically the point of these Super Pockets. Now, there's a whole lot of games. You can jump quickly by pressing the, I think it's the L2 and R2 button at the back if you want to sort of quickly jump through the game. So I'm pretty sure this is the only Super Pocket you can do this on, and that's probably because there are 50 games included. It's quite a lot to sort of jump through. But yeah, there are 50 games all across the different formats. You'll see your classics in there. You get Asteroids. You've got quite a few different versions of Asteroids, and you've got some Lynx games, you've got arcade games, some games that you may remember, some games you might not, but there's a good variety. I think this definitely makes it one of the best Super Pockets available right now. But yeah, let's have a quick bash at a couple of the games, and then we'll try a few Evercade carts, and I'll go over the problem that was sort of highlighted in the community. Now, this is Asteroids. You want to start a game in the arcade mode, just press the select button, that'll insert a coin, then push the start button over here, and then you can basically start. And this is obviously the classic Asteroids. It works fantastically well. Interestingly, they've not titled this as Asteroids Deluxe, which they did on the Evercade cart, which never was Asteroids Deluxe, but it's nice to see that they've actually fixed that and put it just as standard Asteroids, and it's actually really good. If you love Asteroids, there are a few more different versions of this on the Super Pocket. There's the, I think the Lynx version, there's a 5200 version or 7800 version. There's quite a few different versions, but definitely good to have it. It's a classic. Now, you may remember some of these classics back in the day. This obviously Centipede. I had this on the 2600, and it was really addictive stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed playing it. We usually just challenged ourselves and our family, see who could get the best score type of thing, see who could last the longest. Yeah, great memories, great fun. Obviously the graphics are very basic, and if you don't have any nostalgia for this type of thing, then I'm not really sure this Super Pocket would be for you. But if you love your Atari stuff, your old school style stuff, you're going to love playing this again. So this is another arcade game. This is Frenzy, and this is very cool. I love the sound effects to this. Very old, right enough, but the sound effects are absolutely brilliant. I love it. I love the speech samples in it. Really cool. Now, there are a few games here that have the vertical aspect ratio, but just remember, you can stretch the screen. Ideally, it's probably not great like this, but you can also change the sort of display by putting it full screen, which, yeah, it does look brutal, but it's probably a little bit easier on the eyes. Sort of having it as standard probably isn't the best way of playing it either. So it really is a personal choice, but yeah, not ideal that they've chosen a few of those vertical aspect ratio games, but you can just stretch the screen. I think it's not too bad, to be honest, like this. Don't forget, you can also save your progress. You've got save states, and you can then load in whatever you've done as well. You can't change the controls. There's some interesting information there, how to play some of the games, or the controls at least, not how to play them. If you want to know how to play some of the games, there is a link for some of the games that are a little bit trickier to get started and understand on the Hypertech, Megatech website, which I'll leave in the description. But you can't change any of the controls. You can only really change the display here and there and add some scan lines if you want. And obviously you've got your save states. That's it. Very basic setup. But if you're really just wanting a quick plug and play thing, then it's ideal for that. It really is perfect. Now, there's no doubt one of the best games on here is probably Warbirds. That's an Atari Lynx game from 1990, and it's really nice to see this as a sort of pre-installed game. Really enjoyable. Probably not a huge amount of depth to it. Pretty basic stuff, but the sort of dogfighting within the game is so much fun for a quick blast. You're obviously just one-on-one. There's no takeoff or flying. You're just trying to sort of take out the other enemies that you see in the sky. Obviously various difficult levels as well as you progress through the different stages available to you. But yeah, what a great fun game, and I really enjoy playing this one. Graphically, very, very nice. Definitely one to show off your Super Pocket to. Now, who doesn't love doing that? Absolutely fantastic. Terrific stuff. Now, one thing I want to clarify is probably relating to the D-pad before we move on to Evercade Carts. In some games the D-pad does stick a little bit if you press in, and it does affect certain games, especially games like Yar's Revenge, which is a classic 2600 game and I absolutely love it. But if you press down on the D-pad, it does sort of centralise the character, and basically the character will stop dead, which isn't ideal for games where you need to be really quick, such as this, especially when you get further into the actual game, and it then becomes extremely tricky. So you have to bear that in mind. The D-pad does create a bit of a problem. It only affected a few games as far as I could tell. It wasn't affecting every single game, just the odd sort of few, and this was one of them, which is a bit of a shame. Like you see, I'm actually playing it okay, but when things get a little bit ferocious, you will notice the problem and you might get a little bit frustrated with it. Just be wary, just be a little bit light when you're pressing up and down, left and right. Don't push down or you will have problems whilst playing these games. Now obviously guys, you can expand your game library by purchasing Evercade carts. Now there are about 50 to 60 already available. You can even add more Atari games to this device, which is great, but unfortunately the Atari carts, as you see here, are all classed as legacy carts, which means you can no longer purchase these as standard. Although you might find them on sites like eBay, you might get lucky and find them in a store somewhere. But if you want these at a decent price, you will probably struggle. Some of these carts might sell for a little bit more than usual at 30, 40, 50 quid, which is way too expensive for what they are. But sadly, obviously, the license ran out for these with Blaze and they no longer manufacture them, which is a bit of a shame. There are a lot of repeated games on the Atari carts, so you might find that you've already got them. So not necessarily a must-have buy if you're a big Atari fan. You might want to pick and choose which ones to purchase. As you can see here, there's a lot of games that are pretty similar, although you can play the sort of fan-made Yar's Return, which probably isn't the best. It's nowhere near as fun to play than Yar's Revenge, but anyway, it's there if you want to play it. Pretty much more of the same in a very kind of slightly different format, but it does feel very much unfinished. So have a quick look at Atari Collection 2. More Atari stuff. There's a good selection of games. As I said, there's Yar's Revenge, we've got Wizard already, but there's a few games here you probably haven't already got. I'm not sure it's really worth buying just to complete your sort of Evercade library if you've already got this on here. But anyway, you've got the 2600 version of Dark Chambers. On the Super Pocket you have the better version of Dark Chambers, the 7800 version, so not sure it's really worth sort of bothering with at all. Anyway, it is what it is. You can also add more arcade games if you want to with the Atari Arcade. But interestingly, sometimes the cart doesn't always recognise when you're inserting it in, but just sort of bear with it, it should work. It does take its time sometimes. Anyway, as I said, the Atari Deluxe version mentioned here, that's never been Atari Deluxe, but anyway, let's move on. We've got fairly few similar games here that we've already got, so I wouldn't suggest sort of rushing out to buy this cart at all, especially for expanding your library. It wouldn't make a lot of sense. To be honest, but anyway, there's probably a couple of games here that are pretty nice that we don't have on the Super Pocket. I think we've got this one already, but it is what it is. Yes, absolutely nailed that. Fun game if you get it right. Although I think ideally some of these games, this one probably would be better as a two-player game rather than a single-player experience. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, but Obviously on Super Pockets you can't play single player, you can't even link up another Super Pocket, which I think was probably a little bit of a missed opportunity for me. Okay, this is Atari Lynx Collection 1. Some more Atari Lynx games. Now these ones definitely might be worth checking out because there's some nice titles in here that we don't have on the Super Pocket. I think if you were going to pick up more Atari games, I would probably suggest the Atari Lynx collections because there's some nice games on here like Awesome Golf, which is absolutely brilliant. Probably about the only golf, or the only proper golf game we have on Evercade, and it's really good fun. Probably didn't get that right at all. If you like your golf games, give this a bash. It really is pretty decent stuff. I've played this quite a lot, thoroughly enjoy it. We definitely need more golf games on Evercade, please Blaze. Okay, so this is where one of the issues was highlighted within the community. I'm sure it's one of those ones that's been discovered by complete accident. Now, if you've still got the Atari Lynx cart inserted, which you probably might do, and want to then go back to play the pre-installed games, for some reason it stops the games from playing. If you try to start a game, it basically goes back to the start. I'm not really sure why. There's obviously some kind of bug that's stopping these games from happening, but don't worry, you can pretty much just take out the Evercade cart, just toss it to the side, press the button, and it will start the game as normal. Now Blaze, I think, know about this, and hopefully there will be a fix at some point down the line, but it's not massive, it's not a massive game breaking thing. You can still play the pre-installed games, just take your cart out, put it to the side, and carry on. Obviously it's a daft sort of bug, but it's not the worst. At least you can still play the games that are pre-installed. And finally guys, we'll just have a quick look at Atari Lynx Collection 2. Now, a lot of people probably prefer this sort of collection. There are less games on it, but there's some excellent stuff like Chips Challenge, we've got Electro Cop, we've got Slime World, we got Blue Lightning, certainly one of those classic launch titles from the Atari Lynx, which was very striking, a lot of fun to play as well. And it looks great on the Super Pocket, there is no doubt about it. Now this is one of those sort of carts that try to play these on a big screen TV doesn't make a lot of sense. It does look very, very blocky, but on your Super Pockets it just seems tailor fit. Obviously the screen ratios are probably very similar to what the sort of Atari Lynx was. You can see here the sort of viewing angles are all terrific. You can view it from pretty much anywhere. Okay guys, so that's our look at the Atari Standard Edition of the Super Pocket. An excellent little handheld, probably one of my favourites of the Super Pockets, maybe their second favourite, but colour scheme, I absolutely love it. I know a lot of people prefer the wood grain, but I think the black and red is still very striking, and it's a really nice Super Pocket. There's plenty of games built in, and as I said, you can expand your library if you want to with all those Evercade carts, but as a standard it's only £50. You can probably find this in a lot of stores, lots of retailers, and I'm pretty sure this will be very popular leading up to Christmas 2024. Anyway guys, thanks very much for watching. We'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.